The whispering shadows of Blackwood. In the heart of the dense, foreboding forests of Blackwood, Oregon, lies an old, secluded cabin that has been in my family for generations. The cabin, surrounded by towering pines and shrouded in perpetual mist, has always had an eerie aura about it. But it wasn't until the winter of 2017 that I truly understood why. It all began on the night of December 21st, 2017. I was staying at the cabin with my younger sister, whom I'll call Lily, and my older brother, Ethan. The cabin, though rustic, was cozy, with a large stone fireplace and wooden beams that creaked with the wind. My room was at the end of a narrow hallway, which led to the living room and kitchen. The hallway was dimly lit with only a single flickering bulb casting long shadows on the walls. I was awakened in the middle of the night by Lily, who was shaking me violently. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. She begged me to come with her, saying that something was wrong. I followed her down the hallway, the floorboards groaning beneath our feet. As we reached the living room, she suddenly stopped and pointed towards the kitchen. "There's something in there," she whispered, her voice trembling. I peered into the darkness but saw nothing. The kitchen was empty. The only sound, the soft ticking of the clock on the wall. I turned to ask Lily what she had seen, but she was already running back to her room, her footsteps echoing in the silence. The next morning, Lily refused to talk about what had happened. She insisted that it was just a bad dream, but I could see the fear in her eyes. Ethan, who had slept through the entire ordeal, dismissed it as her imagination running wild. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The second encounter happened on June 2nd, 2018. I had returned to the cabin for the summer and was unpacking my things in my room when I saw something move in the hallway. It was just a flicker in the corner of my eye, but it was enough to make my heart skip a beat. I turned to look, but the hallway was empty. The only thing I could remember seeing was a pair of pale white hands, barely visible in the dim light. I tried to convince myself that it was just a trick of the light, but deep down, I knew better. The cabin had always felt alive, as if it were watching us, and now it seemed something had awakened. The most chilling encounter came on March 9th, 2019. I was in the bathroom brushing my teeth when I heard a low, guttural growl. It sounded like it was coming from just outside the door. My blood ran cold as I realized that whatever was in the cabin was no longer content to stay hidden. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a heavy flashlight, and slowly opened the door. The hallway was empty, but the air was thick with an oppressive silence. So I could feel the presence of something that didn't belong. I called out to Ethan and Lily, but there was no response. Over the next few months, the encounters became more frequent. Lily would often see the figure in the corner of her eye, always just out of reach. Ethan, who had always been skeptical, finally admitted that he had seen it too. He described it as a shadowy figure, with a faceless head and pale white hands. It was always about my height, as if it were trying to mimic me. The final straw came one night in late October. I was sitting by the fireplace reading a book when I heard a soft whisper. It was so faint that I almost didn't notice it, but as I listened, I realized that it was coming from the hallway. I stood up and walked towards the sound, my heart pounding in my chest. As I reached the hallway, I saw it. The figure was standing at the end of the hall, its head tilted to one side. It was almost my exact height, its body a solid black, with no features except for those pale white hands. It didn't move, didn't speak, but I could feel its gaze on me, cold and unyielding. I backed away slowly, my mind racing. What did it want? Why was it here? And most importantly, how could I stop it? The cabin has always been a place of mystery, but now it feels like a prison. The shadows seem to move on their own, and the whispers never stop. I don't know what the entity wants, but I know that it's watching us, waiting for the right moment to strike, and I fear that moment is coming soon.